Hello, and welcome to another episode of Furries in the Media. I'm your host, Abergwine, and today we'll look at a news report from WeeklyWeirdNews where they covered a story on Syrian refugees who took up residence in the same hotel that was hosting a furry convention.
Furries! They've long confused us non-furry folk with their enthusiasm for anthropomorphic animal characters and their full-body fursuits, and of course the never-ending question of whether or not dressing up like cartoon animals is a sexual thing or not.
Good definition of what a furry is. I wish they hadn't brought up the sexual aspect, but I won't deduct points because it is a valid question to the average person.
Is a sexual thing or not?
Hey, I saw that, and I'm deducting a point for it. It seems like he just had to insert his opinion on this subject, because I can't imagine that they would have scripted that in.
Here you have people from a conservative Arab Muslim nation who just escaped basically a modern-day apocalypse, whose first taste of life in the Western world would be sleeping under the same roof as grown adults in fursuits who may or may not have a sexual fetish for cartoon animals. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Sure.
I completely agree. What people do behind closed doors is their business alone.
Now, for their part, the organizers of Vancouver were self-aware enough to give a card to all convention attendees regarding the situation. The card read, "Please be aware that our hotel has been chosen as one of the temporary housing locations for the Syrian refugees coming to Canada. A major concern that Vancouver has is ensuring that each and every one of the refugees and attendees feels welcome and safe, and the fact that this is likely to be a major culture shock to them."
The card also mentions that many of the refugees probably don't speak English and to, quote, keep in mind that they likely will not want to interact with you, and consent is important for everyone. So they were obviously well aware of the potential awkwardness of the whole thing.
I'm glad that they draw attention to the memo put out by the convention staff, because it shows that they understand that the staff were self-aware enough to see the potential for this situation, and it also shows that the staff were doing everything they could to prevent this situation from getting out of hand.
Pretty damn weird.
Yeah.
But these kids have been living in hell for most of their short lives, so if hanging out with furries gives them some much needed joy, that's actually a beautiful thing.
And I'm sure the furries loved it too. They were like, look, we're helping.
We're not being judged for the one moment in our lives.
Yeah, it's a great moment for all mankind, I'd say.
The show seems to acknowledge that furries haven't had the best reputation, and that this story may even help to better the furry fandom's image. I'm glad the show seems to be willing to spread positive news about furries. So let's take a look at those review stats. Information accuracy is 100%, and the spirit of the portrayal is 75%, giving us an average of 88%. And now time for my thoughts. I felt like the coverage on this particular story was a rare opportunity to show the public that furries were not all that weird, and I wish opportunities like this one would present themselves more often, but I realize that that's not really in anyone's control. What we did control was how we handled the situation, which I think we handled pretty well. The way the host interjected his opinion on whether being a furry was a sex thing or not seemed very unprofessional to me. I'd completely missed it the first time. Honestly, I didn't even catch it until I was editing the video for this episode of Furries in the Media. And at that point, it seemed like the tone of the entire news report had changed for me, and I wasn't satisfied with the script I had written. Then I realized that this situation was as much out of my hands as was the rare opportunity to show the public that furries aren't that weird. So I took a few days to get my mind off the news report and came back to rewrite the script. Well, that's it for today's episode. Have fun, stay awesome. Bye-bye.